Welcome to the Thursday Checkdown. I'm Joe Carlton, and I'm here with Rick Brusuelas. Rick, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing great. Looking forward to the show.
Nice. So am I. We would like to thank JC and Iggy for giving us this platform to discuss our game with so many amazing people in the fantasy industry. Tonight, our guest is the content lead for FantasyGoats, Mr. Jon Siegel. What's up, John?
Hey, boys, how are you this evening?
We're good. So,
thank you very much for having me on. Also, this is cool. This is exciting. Who doesn't like to talk fantasy football on March 6th? I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And of course, the regular NFL. I mean, look, the NFL. The NFL knows exactly what they're doing. This is a 365-day year event. Doesn't stop.
Very nice. So, for those who don't know, me and John have been in the same Dynasty League for 3 years. Ryan Kennedy commissions it. We did a Dynasty startup 3 years ago. It was actually my first Dynasty startup. I did terrible. It certainly showed. I have yet to make the playoffs. Yeah. I wish I did a lot of things differently, but it is definitely a good learning experience. So I'm excited to have you on for that reason, and chop it up with you, learn a little bit more about you.
Sure.
That's it. So.
Sure.
Why don't you give us a little bit about your background? Tell us where you live. Maybe tell us about your family. Anything like that. Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. If you couldn't already tell, not by your accent, because I could tell where you're from, I'm sure you could tell exactly where I'm from. That would be
New York.
The proud streets of Queens, New York. That's right. Nice. I've been born, raised here all my life. I've spent some time down in the South for business purposes in North Carolina, but that was, short period in the whole grand scheme of my existence. But yeah, from New York. I played fantasy football for since 2002. As you know, I'm a Jet fan. Other than that, I mean, I got a sister. I've got a lot of close friends, close family, and really, what's really been cool since since it's really being part of this community is the different types of people that I've met. Just like this gentleman right here, Disco. He's a really he's a good dude. Now, where's this dude from? This dude is from Canada, and I've met other people that are from Canada, and you are from Boston, and I'm sure we'll find out where Rick is from, and it's just. Being in the fantasy community, I've gotten to know a lot of really good people from not just my neighborhood, not just from New York, not just from the neighboring neighborhoods. So yeah, that's been the coolest part of my journey so far since I've been doing this. Doing this through the extended. Our extended home network, I should say. Doing this through X Twitter, doing this through YouTube, so on and so forth.
Awesome. I agree with the sentiment for sure. The people that you meet, the friendships you make, you realize that we're all really alike. Like. Not just with fantasy football, we're all most everybody's very generous, kind, look out for each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, great. That's great. So when did you decide you were going to get involved in the industry as a content creator and help people win fantasy leagues?
It's just something that just came about. I mean, like it was just like it was interesting how it all did come about, but it wasn't something that was planned. It was like, okay, like, so I just alluded to, being on X, being on Twitter. I wasn't always on it, right? Like I got on it, again, late 2022, early 2023. I met a couple of people, got connected to a bunch of people, started to grow and expand from there. Then all of a sudden, like you're doing, like, you're gathering amongst other people and with people, and you started go on to Spaces. Okay, so now from Spaces, you could very much like this, put names to voices, put names and account names and handles to faces, talk football. I mean, it was basically just nothing else but fantasy, but football. No entertainment. Sometimes personal, yes, and that's what made it even better, right? So you really got to know people other than just from replies and comments and all that. Okay, so fast forward, we were we were doing all these shows, we were doing these Spaces, we were hosting guests very much like this, and it just one thing turned into another. It just like kind of like materialized over and over. What started very quickly, by the way, what started from like once a week to twice a week to 4 times a week to 5 times a week, and it's all only week 3, week 4, week 5, and throughout this whole entire season now, you're people who are allowed to, obviously allowed to. You want that. You want the interaction. Rather not always to chime in, but also they start asking questions, right? They're asking you like who to play, who to start. This, should I do that? Do you like this trade? Do you like this? Do you like that? Okay, so like if I were the one, if I was setting up the space, naturally the question would be directed towards me. If it wasn't directed towards me, it would be directed towards someone that we were hosting. But we weren't always hosting a high profile guest, right? Like we didn't have fantasy pros people on every week. We didn't have people from the NFL Network on every week. So in between all that, following along with an NFL calendar and a fantasy calendar, every time we had a show, questions would be asked. So that's how I really got into it. So, and that took me and my partner Ron, by the way, Commissioner Ryan. Now that took us all the way through the 2023 season. We're in the off season. So there isn't that much fantasy to talk about, but we're talking football, we're talking this, and we said to one another, like, why don't we decide to take this whole entire concept and kind of parlay that over into YouTube. So that's where the birth of it really came from. And what again, it's just a snowball of events, and days become months, and months become right now. Like we just finished an entire 2024 season, and it was basically we took the same premise from Spaces minus the guests. Okay, so like we didn't have any guests this past season, but we took the same premise. We know there's one thing that we knew for certain, and this, so I'm not reinventing the wheel. And I heard this. I'm going to take this paraphrase from the great Jamie Eisenberg, right? He said that, look, that he loves advanced stats. He loves looking at data. He loves to evaluate that. But when it's all said and done, the only thing anybody really cares about is whether they are setting the best lineup possible. So based on that premise, not obviously we know that, right? We knew that we would get, we would be able to take what we did from Spaces and just like kind of, move that over to YouTube. And that's basically, that's the Fantasy Goats. The Goats, that speaks for itself. You're a goat. I want you to think that you're a goat. Again, we interact often. But again, a lot of it is text. The majority of it is text. You think you know someone. You think that you could get a good read on what they're saying or how they're feeling based on a reply or based on a comment. You really don't, though, and I think it's a mistake to always automatically presume that everyone is in a good way, unless, of course, someone flat out, point blank, states that something is off or something is wrong. But you know, but a lot of the times, I think that by empowering somebody to feel like they are great, then even if it's for a little bit, even if it's for a little bit, then you know, maybe then I did my tiny small part.
That's it. That's where the motivation comes from.
Tiny, right, and it's not, you know, it takes a lot more than that, obviously, because again, like it you've got to be genuine, right? You got to have good intentions, and you have to be sincere with a lot of it as well, and that's why, you know, I've seen, and I'm sure that you guys have as well, you know, like a lot of social media has, you know, for lack of a better word, I guess, kind of shifted, right? And it's shifting with the times, and you can't always, again, presume that people are in a good headspace. You really can't. That's I think that's the most important thing, to always just keep that at the forefront. And it's the same thing here with a chat. It's the same thing. Again, it's social media. It's not real interaction. It's not real in the sense of like being physically next to somebody you don't really know at all times. That's it. That's my fantasy goat story. That's my content. And again, and just like you gentlemen, right? We're on a small journey still. We're on a small journey. We're still figuring it out. And stuff is still going to change along the way as well. And just so, again, just to be aware of that and to be mindful of that. The one thing that is constant and that will remain is that the Jets are still going to stink. That is one thing that will most likely remain constant. Now, did I jump ahead? I may have jumped ahead.
That's okay.
So yeah, but we'll get into the Jets. I do want to ask you about
I apologize. I know
that's okay. You were in the zone, man. You were cooking.
I jumped ahead.
So you host the Beat the Doc and the Beat the Doc Fantasy Goats Invitational. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about that league and what it's all about?
Well, it's actually two. Right, it's two set. Those are two different leagues. The Beat the Doc is with one of the fantasy docs. Was actually he was literally my first connection that I made on X when it was Twitter. I remember the question that I originally asked him, and he was the first person that actually got back to me. He replied back to me. So that's what probably kept me dug in on Twitter when I first got on it, because I'm, oh shit, look at this. I got someone replied to me. This guy's telling me that he doesn't think that Kenny Walker's injury on his inside ankle is serious. Great. Fast forward from there, he was at the expo, which I believe we'll touch up on. He was at the expo. He asked another mutual whether he wanted to do a fantasy tournament, a fantasy league. From there, I was asked to then set the league up. I set the league up. We promoted it a little bit on the app, and the rest is history from there. I mean, like we I believe started with 3 leagues. Then this past season went to 4 leagues. It's a prize league. This one happens to be one for like memorabilia, so we go and get signed mini helmets, the champion or two champions really. Like the grand champion gets the jersey and the belt. Then second place gets a jersey. Third place gets a mini belt, so on and so forth, down from there. And yeah, so this past season was the second year that we did it, from 3 to 4 leagues. Minimal buy-in. Again, it is for prizes. The Fantasy Goats, kind of the same premise, only not best ball. This would be the regular redraft. The real deal, Laquan. Okay, so it's like early June. I see a post from him. I just see it like 5 minutes. I just caught his post. I'm itching to draft a league. So I DM'd him right away. Let's do it. And boom, we started forming leagues right from there. We organized. I organized four best ball leagues. I kind of wanted this one to be, a little bit of a mix of content creators, analysts, because he is an analyst for the NFL Network, as you know. We got his good buddy Marcus Grant involved. Got some other really, really sharp content creators and analysts. And yeah, that was cool. Again, another prize league. This one was for cash. If you placed between 7th to 12th, you made a little bit more of the buy-in. And then it went up from there. So yeah, it was cool. And I look forward to you gentlemen joining us this year. Yeah, why not?
I appreciate it. Absolutely. Definitely.
It'll be in June. It wasn't too, it goes to show it wasn't too early to draft. He was like, I'm itching to draft. Guess what? He wasn't the only one that was itching to just join a league and start drafting. He wasn't.
But by June, I have at least 5 drafts done.
Exactly.
At least. And that's lying. I'm lying.
You know what else I did? And you know what else I did also, right? So like this was in the beginning of June, and if it was 4 leagues and I capped it off at 4, I set some of the drafts up for that Sunday night of Father's Day. Like people, they loved it. Like, yeah, how could you say no? You can't say no if you're a dad because you don't have any other obligation. So I thought that was pretty. It worked. For the most part, it worked. I didn't get any pushback like, no, the date won't work. Now, whether that's psychology of it, obviously, I don't have any real data to back that up.
All right. So now we can get into the Jets. Talk a little bit about your favorite team. You have any idea what their plan is for quarterback this year? Excuse me.
No. I mean, like they
Kirk Cousins, maybe? Is he a prime candidate? I don't know.
No, I mean, is Kirk Cousins really like?
No, he does nothing for you. Yeah, he does nothing for you.
He does absolutely nothing for you. Exactly. He's not someone. No, that wouldn't be the answer.
Anybody you like? Anybody that you would like to see? Maybe even through the draft.
I mean, they're going to draft somebody. They have to draft someone, whether it be the kid from Syracuse, if they could pull that off, or possibly, I mean, if they would really, really think that they really need to take the quarterback in the first round. I don't know if you're really gonna pull the trigger if Shedeur Sanders is there. I don't know if he wants to play for the Jets. They're in a really tough situation. They really are, because it wasn't too long ago that, Joe Douglas at pick 2 was drafting the big problem that's what got the Jets, or part of the reason why the Jets are in this spot to begin with. They got that pick wrong. So it's like, okay, you hear about, maybe they'll get a bridge quarterback. They'll get a bridge to what? What are you bridging it to? Are you bridging it to next year's class? I mean, like, is that how you want this coaching regime to get off to that's to a losing start. I don't think they plan on that. I think they're going to plan to win football games, but I don't know how. The only thing that I could possibly see that makes a little bit of sense was maybe trying to bring in Justin Fields. Now that's in no way, shape, or form like an end all be all to the Jets' woes. It might help. It might just make Garrett Wilson happy. It may just be a good enough quarterback that they can now take a quarterback in the draft, out of the draft, and possibly develop. But then that leads me back to me shaking my head like, well, this organization is notoriously bad at that. I don't know if this new coaching regime, there's no reason for us to think that this coaching regime is going to all of a sudden just change colors. A leopard doesn't change its stripes, that just does not happen. Now, excuse me. The good thing about this whole thing, now let's get to the good news. There are some pretty decent players on the roster.
Oh yeah, Bruce Hall and Braylon Allen, and their defense is strong. Line's pretty good. Garrett Wilson. So that's why you're right. They're not gonna. It's a bridge to what? Because they have no chance at Arch Manning. And so what else are you going to be looking at next year? So I think that they're going to have to pick up somebody who's playable this year.
You're 100% correct, Rick. So Joe Douglas, there's a lot of Jet fans, I should say, that want to really stick it to the former general manager and how they didn't like Bob Saleh. Those guys, they didn't do that bad of a job. They really didn't. They almost corrected and righted their wrong. They had the right idea by fixing the 2022 season with getting Rodgers. Now throw away 2023. You can't even count that. So the owner gave those two another opportunity with the quarterback. So what did he do? He actually wound up doing better than most expected. But look at what kind of damage that was done because of the quarterback. They panicked, they fired them, and the Jets finished in the spot that they finished in again. But yeah, there's still good pieces on their team. What do they need to do? They need to develop. They need coaching. And I don't mean Aaron Glenn, who obviously we know worked there. There's only like 1 or 2 years where Aaron Glenn was a player and or a scout while Woody just took over. So he's not really from the Woody Johnson ownership. He's from the first ownership, the Leon Hess ownership. But still, I mean, you need more. You're going to need a whole entire different personnel department. You're going to need better coaches, all the coaches that you don't hear about, the dudes that get hired in like 4 years from now because of the jobs that they did developing. That's what they're going to do. You need all that stuff. We know there's Sauce Gardner, we know there's Quentin Williams, we know there's Garrett Wilson. They're the most important positions still not taken care of yet. Now again, does Justin Fields solve this issue? Probably not. But we're gonna need to see this play out. We're gonna have to see it play out. But I mean, again, this is more like it's frustration. Yeah, I think you could tell that. It's frustration. Breece Hall. This is it's such an important season for Breece Hall. This dude, it's going to go one of two ways. Either he's going to rebound for where he was in 2023 because last season was off, or he's going to turn into Najee Harris. It's going to be one of two things. Either he's going to rebound and now be one of those tier 1 running backs, top 5, top 7 RBs, because right now he's below that, I would say. Or he's going to turn into like just one of these dudes that, they won't franchise him, They certainly. Well, I don't think no one's really franchising running backs these days, but yeah, he'll just they have a Braylon Allen. I don't know how they plan on deploying him with Breece Hall like we saw last season a little bit. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't have my expectation is nowhere for them, and why should it be? Why should it be? What have you shown? What have you seen? What have you shown us? Again, in 2022, they dropped their final 6 games. In those 6 games, coming out of the bye was that 10-3 game against the Patriots, where they could not do anything. Then they lost the remaining stretch, and they said to themselves, "Yo, we need to convert third down. How are we going to convert third down? He can't convert third down. He's getting us into fourth down. So now that dude's out of a job. It's literally out of the league. So you brought in the guy that could convert third down. What did you do? You got the coaches fired. That's it. My grievances are done. I'm filed.
All right. We just, from a fantasy football perspective, do you think that Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall get enough pass volume to make them a value in drafts this year?
Garrett, yes. Hey, I mean, if we want to play this out, I'm going to play it out as if they're going to be losing football games. But even if they're not, there's no threat. There's no other threat there whatsoever. Even with Devontae Adams, for crying out loud, was playing opposite Garrett. Garrett Wilson still, he did tremendous, even with Devontae Adams. A lot of that gets lost. I think it was his best season that he's had in his young career. Still, he garners a lot of attention. He's very, very talented, emotional at times, but very gifted wide receiver. Yeah, you could break. Look, we've seen him with 5-6 quarterbacks already. For the love of God, you kind of almost feel bad. This is actually the wide receiver on the Jets. I actually feel bad. I don't typically feel bad for these people. I look at it in a very objective, unbiased manner. I feel bad for this dude, and he's making. You ready? You know how much he's making? He makes, I think, $6 million. He's making $6 million for this. It's an absolute steal. Now, I think if they exercise his contract, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you would know, fellas, if they exercise his 50-day option, I'm not sure if he would get a bump in pay, where it goes from 6 to, I think it may double, or I think he may get a bump in pay for the year 4. I'm not 100% sure about that. Nevertheless, Garrett Wilson's very talented. Breece Hall, again, this is a very important season for him. It's going to all come down to how they plan on using him. I don't know if Aaron Glenn brings in some of like the same type of MO that the Lions' entire game plan was, for offense and defense. I'm not sure if it's going to work like that. If it does work like that, it's like, yeah, my colleague Ben Johnson loved 2 running backs. Do you like 2 running backs, OC? Yeah, sure. I like 2 running backs. Then we're going to see like some sort of platoon of Breece Hall along with Braylon Allen.
And so Braylon Allen being more the Montgomery type and Breece Hall being more the Jahmyr Gibbs type.
Yeah. I mean, the bodies are a little different.
Like they're both closer to each other than the other two in Detroit.
They're a little different, especially with the Breece Hall body to Jahmyr Gibbs. But I mean, I guess if we had to go one over the other, yeah. If not, then we'll see a full volume, full workload, get spelled, maybe come in and maybe alternate some series, but we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to read some tea leaves. We're gonna have to listen to some coach speak. I'll be paying attention to it. We'll see how this goes. I mean, but yeah, they got two young running backs. They're pretty talented. Pretty talented.
All right. So Why don't we move on to some free agency and trade news before we get into your projected first round?
Yeah. Why don't we do that? The free agency. I love free agency.
All right. So the Philadelphia Eagles made a couple of extensions on Saquon Barkley, 2 years, $41 million, $36 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid running back in the NFL. Definitely well deserved. And they also re-signed all-pro linebacker Zach Bond to a 3-year, $51 million contract with $34 million guaranteed. Both of these signings, to me, indicates that Philly is looking to run it back in 2025. Max Crosby signed a 3-year deal worth $106.5 million with $91.5 guaranteed, making him the highest-paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. Great news for the Raiders locking up their centerpiece.
They needed they needed to lock that up. I'll just say this. I don't know if that is an exorbitant contract. I'll let somebody else decide that, but it was absolutely necessary to make sure that you were going to keep him, lock him up. You saw exactly what those Eagles did to those Chiefs. You play those Chiefs twice a year. You have the blueprint. You're going to at least want to keep this veteran. Other than that, I don't like that amount of money. I don't know. I'm not sure about it. Therefore, I'm just going to leave it there. It seems high, but then again,
it seems high now, but with the 3 years, like next year and the year after, the price for that type of player could go up.
I get, and that would then it makes perfect sense, but at the same time, it's like okay, but and for that value, for market inflation, and for the simple fact again, the positional necessity, yes. Absolutely.
All right. Moving on. The Bengals placed a non-exclusive franchise tag on T. Higgins, making his base salary $26.5 million in 2025, while they continue to try to reach a long-term deal. For those who don't know what a non-exclusive tag is, it means that other teams can still negotiate and sign him to a contract, but it would cost them 2 first-round draft picks in compensation. Pretty similar to last year's Lamar Jackson situation last offseason. I always thought Tay was going to be on Cincinnati all along, so I fully expect them to reach a deal at some point, and I do expect him to suit up and play for the Bengals. I don't think there'll be no holdout
for the Bengals.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no one's paying that tender. The compensation.
Right. Washington Commanders acquired Deebo Samuel in a trade for a 5th-round draft pick. This is a great trade for Washington. As far as fantasy football goes, I see Deebo's value pretty much staying the same. Definitely a boost for Jaden Daniels, though. This makes me feel a lot safer using a lot better about using an early pick on Jaden Daniels if he happens to fall to me in the right spot.
Yeah, giving him another weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Without question.
Dallas Cowboys restructured the contracts of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb to free up $56.6 million in much-needed cap space. You guys have any thoughts on what this money might be used for? See, Rick, you got any thoughts on that?
As at least the team, at least the person who's in the state of Texas with the Cowboys, they need a wide receiver bad. They need a running back even worse. And is Micah Parsons I don't even know his contract situation.
That's what I was thinking. I think this might involve end up having some of that going to him, or all of it, for that matter.
So, but yeah, I think Jera is just struggling right now, trying to make his team, relevant, and even in the state of Texas. I of course, as a Texan fan, I put up with many years of being the weak sister in that state. But now it feels good being the team. And I'll touch on, some new Texan news that just happened earlier today. And that's a player that the Cowboys really could have used because, right now their wide receiver 2, I think, is Brandon Cooks. So, and so anyway, I'm just seeing the team struggle.
What else is new? It's the Jets. they like the Jets. In more ways than one, really. I mean, like, it's autonomy, it's the ownership. Only, the Dallas just much different, I guess, franchise pedigree. If that money that they restructured for Dak and CeeDee Lamb isn't for Micah Parsons, then what the hell is it for? What could that possibly? They have to get a running back through the draft. I don't know if you're going to spend the 12th overall pick on Ashton Genty, but you might as well. You might as well, if this is your next, like, Ezekiel Elliott, quote unquote, generational type of running back, you might as well do it. Don't screw around. And they would probably go and get a wide receiver in this draft as well. But you could also maybe, I don't really like the free agent options at this point for the Cowboys. You would want to get younger, but they definitely need that help as well. Yeah, but if that restructuring isn't for Micah Parsons to lock him up, I don't know what it's for. I don't know.
Right. Do you see Jake Ferguson? You think if healthy Ferguson might take pressure off the wide receivers? If they don't go out and add a veteran wide receiver, maybe they draft a wide receiver and go with that for an offense. If they do, like you said, they have to take. If Genty is there, they have to take him. Like, if they pass up on the running back this year, it's probably a bad call. Like you said, they need that money for Micah Parsons. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I don't know if Ferguson's going to take pressure off of CeeDee Lamb. But he will to a certain extent if he could get open, if they're going to use him in that sense, which they do use him. But they need another dude as well. Aside from Jalen Tolbert, I'm not sure if he's really that guy. Brandon Cooks, I think, isn't Brandon Cooks a free agent? He may or may not be, but he's not that guy either. He's about to follow Tyler Lockett. He's been playing in this league as long as Tyler Lockett, hasn't he? So he's pretty much on the 18th hole, even if he does play. They need more weapons. How about, let's just leave it at that? Yeah, if Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb, they're gonna need somebody else that could, if not, go across the middle while CeeDee Lamb stretches the field, or vice versa. They need a lot of stuff done. And let's not forget about the trenches. But yeah, that's a lot of that starts with Micah Parsons, and that's what I think that's where that money's going to go.
Nice. All right, let's move on to your projected first round, your overall top 12. I suppose we could call it that way. For single quarterback leagues, we'll add some context. This is not Superflex. This is for single quarterback leagues. Projected first round. Why don't you give us a summary of it, 1 through 12? Take us through it. Highlight anything you want to highlight, and that's it. Give us a brief summary.
Yeah. So again, this is kind of the way I see it right now. I don't really think that this is exactly the way it's going to finish, but coming in at 12. Josh Jacobs, he kind of still seems like he's getting a little disrespected in an early mock draft that I saw on FFT. A bunch of analysts, they've got Jacobs in the second round, and whether it's Jacobs at pick 12, pick 13, pick 14, or Devon Achane at pick 12, pick 13, pick 14, I think it's kind of interchangeable there as well. So yeah, I'm gonna put Josh Jacobs there. 1.12, 1.11. Look at this dude, BTJ in the season. He had all those targets. Getting drafted maybe at his ceiling. Same thing for Malik Neighbors. Maybe at the ceiling. Maybe they finish. If they finish ahead of what they did last year, it's going to be an absolute monster season. After that is Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's like the safe play, right? I mean, it's like Amon-Ra St. Brown has been like consistent, steady Eddie. Do I expect the Lions to be that prolific? No, I do not. The Lions will kind of take a step back, but I still expect their offense to be pretty much the same, like pretty much on par. Maybe not as many points, but that should not affect his value, his production. It should not alter or change Gibbs' production. And then from there, we were just talking about the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb. Look, if him and Dak are on the same page, which we have no reason to think that they wouldn't be based on what we've seen from them in recent years, and even CeeDee Lamb with Cooper Rush last year, CeeDee Lamb really didn't change that much. Like, he's still very productive. He's still the target hog in that offense. And he was playing hurt last year. But like, again, let's just take a look at the years with Dak. Not last year, but 2023, he was the wide receiver 1. So we're gonna put him right there. One of my favorites, I may have him actually a little low, fellas, Puka. Because what happens if like the Rams don't add another wide receiver? What if Puka played a full 17 games last season? It would have been like he may have exceeded Jamar Chase's numbers if he would have played a full year. But we know that he didn't. We know that he's also a little touchdown light so far in his first 2 seasons. So like, if he has actually the opposite of regression, if he actually has positive regression in touchdowns, his touchdown equity, Puka could wind up having a wide receiver 1 type of season. He could. But there's a caveat to that. And there's really a caveat to all these that I could probably nitpick. We have to see if the Rams add anybody. I don't think they will. There's talk that it might be Devontae Adams, but I don't really think that's the case. This should be a really, really, really smash season if he stays healthy. Puka. Okay, what's up, Odysseus? Jahmyr Gibbs just talked about. I mean, like, he's
James
like
Seal. James Seal with the question. Yeah, Barkley, how will he bounce back?
Well, he's less than that. That's how he's going to bounce back. I mean, we know what this quote-unquote curse of 370 is. As a matter of fact, it's verified. It really is. I interviewed a guy. I asked him about it, and he said, "Yeah, I came up with it." The guy from FTN and ESPN Plus Stats, Aaron Show, and it is real. And we see what happens. We saw what happened to CMC. When we don't have, I don't think we have a back-to-back rushing leader in a long time. Correct me if I'm wrong. So with that in mind, he'll regress a little bit. I would think he's not going to just fall off a cliff. I don't believe that. They still have a wonderful, fantastic offensive line. Saquon is still going to have a really good season. It's just not going to be the same amount of like volume usage. It can't be. He's going to take a little bit of a step back. That's why I have him at 3, right? Justin Jefferson is him. All right. Like, he's like a souped up version of Garrett Wilson. It doesn't matter what quarterback he's playing with.
Right.
He's just going to be schemed up and open. Jamar Chase. Okay. Like, we don't see wide receivers repeat. That's the reason why I have him there. Still expected to have a really, really good season, just not the Triple Crown. If he's not going to have the Triple Crown, then he's going to be less fantasy points. It's just as simple as that. Is he going to have like over 1,000? Of course. He's going to have over 1,300. Is he going to have 100 catches? Probably he's going to have over 100 catches, but it's not going to be the same substance. It's not going to be that absolute ceiling that he was at this past season. Bijan Robinson is where we have still meat on the bone with this dude. This is the dude that was being compared to Saquon Barkley when he came out. He doesn't have many explosive runs. That's the area that I looked at in determining like why Bijan could actually do better than what he did last season, because he practically had 1,800 yards himself, 1,800 total yards. If he just gathers up more explosive plays, if Michael Penix gets them downfield more, this is going to create more opportunity for Bijan, and he should be our RB1. That's it. That's all I got. This is going to change.
Right. I was just going to say, if the Giants get a better quarterback, Malik Neighbors could move up.
And even with today's news of the Texans signing trading for Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas is going to rise in value because, unless they do go out and either draft high or.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if Liam Cohen is going to be the answer for the Jaguars. I really don't. But what I do know is what he said. We're going to use him here. We're going to use him there. We're going to put him here. We're going to put him there. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Yep. Well, and what else? What else do we know? We know that they don't have anybody else. This should translate into another at the very least the same season that they had last season.
I agree.
At the very least.
I also see Collins moving up a bit. See CeeDee Lamb. Dak's going to be healthy, or at least the hope would be Dak is healthy. And again, CeeDee Lamb's right now the main target that Dak will be going to. Puka, I love Puka Nacua, so I love that ranking. In fact, right now Whittington and they just Atwell. They just re-signed Atwell, so I don't see them really adding another big wide receiver. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But, again, as long as – and Puka's been hurt both through college and, now in the NFL. So, but if he can stay healthy, he's definitely someone that can move upwards on that.
The Tutu Atwell re-signing for $10 million, a whole whopping $10 million. Well, number one, good for the young man.
Yeah,
it's good that he still has a job. And the second part, I think you were about to allude to. He's, it's really not just a depth piece. Make sure that, because they know that they're moving off of Cooper Kupp, and you don't want to completely tear down that wide receiver room. So you want to at least make sure that we have this guy along with Jordan Whittington, along with I'm missing one guy. There you go. Along with him. Now, again, they may add somebody. They may not. Some people think that Devontae Adams does make sense there, does fit. I don't think that. I don't see that. But
it probably doesn't, because him and Puka does what he does. So, I agree with that. The Rams isn't a good spot for Adams.
And also see Atwell, the money they threw at Tutu Atwell, I think reflects their opinion of the draft. Since it's a running back heavy draft, wide receivers not considered to be at least as strong as last year's draft. So I think that you're going to see, and hence you're seeing some of these trades coming up, some of these signings. I think that reflects people's opinion of the draft.
That's a great take.
Why don't you give us a mid-round target, somebody you're looking at in rounds, say 7 through 13, that you're targeting in all drafts. You feel like he's a great value. Give us a guy.
I don't want to give away like trade secrets, though.
Nobody's watching. It'll just be between the three of us.
It's the people that are watching right here are the ones that I'm most concerned about, aside from you two. I mean, I'm giving away trade secrets, but I might as well. I mean, all right, I'll be vague with one, right? Vague would be like, we're going to take a stab at most of the rookies that are in this range, right? I mean, like for the redraft, right? Not a rookie, not a dynasty rookie draft.
Redraft.
In redraft, you're going to get a lot of breadth of rookies that are going to fall anywhere between the 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's that. It'll be take a stab at a rookie in any of these rounds. A veteran, I'd like to see Ricky Pearsall remain where he is right now. And what I mean by remain where he is, remain like in this 8th, 7th round range. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to wind up climbing.
He's already climbing. He was going 11th, 12th, and like a month ago, or not even a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, and then when the Debo trade happened, boom, he shot right up.
What round do you see him going in right now?
7. He's going early 7th round right now.
I would take that value.
Yeah.
I would want that with the expectation for him to be able to outproduce that. So like this time next year, we're talking about Ricky Pearsall being like a wide receiver 2, being somewhere in like the 4th. Like I would take that value if it was the 7th round. Again, as long as we don't see what San Fran does, we know that. I mean, I know they're shopping Ayuk, but even if, let's say Ayuk was shopping right now, let's say that was taking place. I don't know how healthy this dude is either. I'm sure he's going to come back at some point. I don't know if it's week 1 or not, but yeah, him and Juwan Jennings will go ahead of Ricky Pearsall. I would want to see Ricky Pearsall. If I had Ricky Pearsall in the 7th or 8th round, I would like to go do that. I don't know if it's going to be like that. So I don't know how much longer it'll stay around there. What about you guys?
What about you, Rick? Who you got?
Yeah, I like Tyrone Tracy. I think the Giants need him to perform. I think he gained over 800 yards in his rookie season, but what they were expecting from him was really a receiving back, and he's 284 yards is and a touchdown more there. Yeah, I think that they're going to need to have him deliver and have him produce. That'll help take some of the pressure off of whatever quarterback they bring in. So if I'm going to look, and I agree, I think John's right. We want to look at rookies. A lot of great rookie running backs coming in this season. Or this year. But if I'm going to look at a veteran who's produced, Tyrone Tracy.
He's going right around the same range as Pearsall as well. It's mid-7th, early 7th, mid-7th.
And yeah, we definitely want to try to get our hands on one of these rookie running backs. We know just based on the hype, but even right, like I feel like we shouldn't necessarily get deterred from like some of like the miscues from last year's draft when it was the heavy wide receiver. Like Keon Coleman didn't really pan out, and there was a few others, right, that didn't really pan out that we went in on around this time, around this part of the draft. And like I think when it's all said and done, we'll have to examine like the landing spots, examine like the player for who the player that he is, and even let's say if it was even later, like around 9, 10, 11, still even though it is a lesser quality, not as strong of a wide receiver class from last year, I still think depending on the spot that they wind up being drafted on, it might be worth it. It depends. But yeah, of course we want our running backs in this draft. We want running backs.
So my rookie target in that range, since it is going to be the rookie tight end Loveland. I think if he lands good, he might end up moving up out of that range into like the 6th round, depending on if it's a real good landing spot. But I'm gonna make a contrarian pick for my veteran. For my veteran, I'm going with Najee Harris. I know he doesn't have a spot. He doesn't have a team right now. He's going late in round 9. He's fallen. I think he's going to fall into the 10th round in some drafts. He's got 4 consecutive 1,000 yards rushing seasons. I think he's never missed a game. I think he's played 17 games all 4 years. I think, he'll probably end up in a committee, but he's still a versatile back. He can still catch passes. He was ranked top 12 in yards created, and evaded tackles. He's still elusive. He's still a good runner. And if he finds a good landing spot, 10th round Najee is going to be nice for your 0 running back teams.
Sniper Harris. Yeah, I mean, look, he's been consistent. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. We can't take that away from him. He's been available. I mean, like, he's been remarkably healthy, or he hasn't missed a football game. That says a lot. I mean, that says something. Yeah, I mean, I've been in the Najee game. I mean, I kind of feel like we know what we're going to get from him. You're going to get some games where you're going to, get maybe 16 fantasy points, maybe. And there's going to be some duds. I mean, but that's how the game goes. Let me put it this way. I mean, in that late of a round, I mean, it could be a lot worse. Let me put it that way.
This is why I mentioned 0 running back build too, because you don't want to have to rely on them every single week. But if the cookie crumbles right on your 0 running backs, then like you said, you know the weeks that you're going to use them, and the weeks that you're not. But
it for that type of build, you could do a lot worse, probably.
All right, so give me one guy you're fading completely. You think you're going to end up with very few or to 0 shares
or 0?
Yeah,
Brian Robinson Jr. Yeah, that was easy one. I mean, he dropped the ball, literally. He had one game, I believe, that was over 18 points, or maybe one game that just got to 18 points, and nothing exceeded that. He scored. Don't get me wrong. He had, I think, 7 touchdowns, but he just does not look like a good running back.
Very touchdown dependent.
Very, very touchdown dependent. Absolutely right. So, I mean, I'm out on him. Again, from where he's probably going to be drafted, I still don't think that I would select him in any draft whatsoever. I actually have him. On another dynasty team, and I'm gonna have to look to move him. I don't want him, but how am I gonna trade him? Sieg, I will get to this.
Rick, who are you fading this year?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna just base it on people that have hurt me in the heart over the last couple of years. ETN, Kyle Pitts, but I'm going to pick as my fade someone who's been a top name, and people have been so excited about the guy, Chris Olave. Haven't seen him deliver so far, and I'm not expecting it this year. I think I actually like Rashid Shaheed as their wide receiver 1, so I'll go ahead and go with Chris Olave, and people can send those hate letters to me.
No, I love that one.
Yeah, that's not bad.
When I saw that, Rick, I was like, you know what? I love that. I should have went there first, but that's why I just stuck with Brian Robinson, because we could talk about Chris Olave. Unfortunate circumstances. He's not available. Najee Harris, that's the opposite. He is available. Chris Olave, it's unfortunate. It really is, because, and I think about this sometimes. Look at the attention that Tua gets when he gets a concussion, right? Look at the attention that, CT and his head injury and this and that. Chris Olave has sustained the same amount of concussions as Tua. Why isn't he? I mean, why is Chris Olave at lesser risk long term than Tua? Because Chris Olave is a wide receiver and Tua is a franchise quarterback. Chris Olave is in danger of not playing football for the rest of his life. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, no, you fade Chris Olave because you're worried about his injury risk at this point. That would be for me, worried about his injury risk. How do you get hit?
That's it. I agree. That is a big concern for him.
Right? Tua can get rid of the ball real fast. But
so
I mean, like it's still risky. Chris Olave also. I mean, like that whole Saint situation is risky. Yeah, I would. I love that pick, Rick. I don't think I'll have much Chris Olave either. Don't worry. Let's get
my fade. My fade is James Cook.
Oh my gosh!
So he's going at the 3-4 turn. I just think that's crazy. That's way expensive. There's going to be so many good wide receivers still available in that range, or a premium quarterback or a premium tight end. And he's obviously he's got to have some touchdown regression, and just regression all around. Buffalo, we don't know their identity. They don't know if they're going to add a wide receiver. If they add a wide receiver through the draft or free agency, we don't know what to make of Dalton Kincaid. Is he going to take a step forward this year? If he does, it could affect James Cook's consistency. I mean, he still will have a ceiling game here and there. He's just, for a third-round pick, he's not going to be reliable.
Yes, added Ray Davis, and he's going to take some of those touchdowns away too. So that TD regression is super real.
That just makes me sad.
Well, John, appreciate you coming on, man. This was fun.
I had a lot of fun, fellas. You guys are doing great work. Please keep it up. You guys, I appreciate this very much. It was awesome talking ball with you. Love seeing the community here. We talked about that. Disco, Devontae Smith, the GOAT, the devote. You know he's the wide receiver one. Let's stop playing games now. You know this already. I bet you he'll think differently when AJ Brown is moved to New England and Devontae Smith is the wide receiver one.
I wish that ain't ever gonna happen. I don't think. But
no, I think that's a real possibility, to be honest with you. No, I'm not even joking. I think the Eagles will move off of AJ Brown. You know what? We didn't talk about that in the free agency. I think they're gonna move off of AJ Brown. They'll get some compensation back.
No,
how he's playing.
Yeah,
they're gonna reunite him with Mike Vrabel. Why not?
I don't know.
Rick, I think go to close. You want to go to close? Share some thoughts, and then your last thoughts, and then close us out. We're up over. We're 3 minutes over right now.
Yeah. And again, as Joe said, he wanted to thank you, and we really thought you were a great guest. It's been a pleasure getting a chance to meet you, and also getting a chance to get your insights both on the first round draft projections and about the New York Jets. It's great hearing from someone who lives and breathes and lives and dies New York Jets. So appreciate that. Joe and I are going to be on next Thursday at our regular time, when our guest is going to be Michael Reedy. Michael is one of the top analysts at Fantrax and Optimus Fantasy. So I hope you all come back for that. Also keep an eye out for some of the other shows on the Sports Affiliation. On Sundays, we've got the TSA Hoop Show with JR. On Tuesdays, I'll be back with charity-related leagues and charity-related events on the Give Back Show. And then Carla is on Wednesday nights with her excellent interview show called The Game Changers. And then last, and I guess our newest show on the network, and that's the Monday Night Mocks that Pete and JC and Will do on Monday night. So hope you tune in for that. So really do appreciate y'all being on with us. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Why don't you go ahead and take us out, JC?